Chances are you've already heard that there's over 1,000 planets within Starfield, each of them offering a completely different environment for you to explore, with new resources, new animals, and just general gameplay in terms of dynamic events, outposts, and various missions. And with all the advertising going on so far with how much you can actually do within game, let's do a full breakdown on gameplay so that we can highlight what you'll be doing at different moments of the game. So firstly, you will need to go through the intro. We already know a bit about this already. It won't immediately start with the character customization, it will actually start with a bit of a cutscene and potentially some gameplay in itself, but you just won't be able to see your character at this point. It's not until you touch the artifacts where you go unconscious, and then once you bring yourself around again, that is when you'll see two other characters talking to you, and that's when you go into the character creation. We have already published an in-depth video going over the character creation system, so if you want to see that, there is a video on screen right now. You click that in the top right, you'll be taken over to there. But carrying on, once you go and complete your character creation, you are able to go and change your character's appearance at a later date, but your skills and your background will be set in stone. It's likely that you'll still need to continue going through missions as this is still the intro of the game. And I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen because it's not being revealed. However, we do know that you'll spend a lot of time in New Atlantis. New Atlantis is the biggest city within Starfield, and it's also the biggest city that Bethesda have ever put together in any of their games. And we also know that New Atlantis is the home place of the constellation. That is where you'll be able to find the headquarters. We also know that you'll spend time in our own solar system, which is called the Old Neighborhood within Starfield's lore. You'll spend some time on Mars and you'll start to figure out what's happened with Earth. It won't be revealed early on, but it is something that will start at the beginning of this game, and then you'll progress through the story, which will unlock more secrets on what actually happened. But with all of this, at this point, you would now be set up. Of course, you can go through the main story missions, and it's said that the story length will be 30 to 40 hours. And that is if you go from main story mission to main story mission to main story mission, just focus on those completing the game. But there's a lot more out there. As said at the beginning, there's over 1,000 planets. So let's actually talk a bit more about the exploration side of things. With there being over 1,000 planets, there's a lot to do. And as you would expect, these planets are not close to each other. You would need to use your ship's grav drive in order to jump between systems. But when starting out, you won't be able to immediately just jump across each and every single one of these because your ship is not going to be the best. This is something that will need to improve as time goes on. There are various stats which you can improve through the ship customization menu, one of which is your ship's grav drive. As you increase this, you would then be able to jump between systems much further away from yours. Once you enter into these solar systems, there you'll be able to scan various planets. This will give you basic information. Some of the key details will be your fauna, your flora, water, and also resources. If there's a planet which catches your eye, you can zoom in a bit further, still within the UI system and still scanning, and this will give you additional information. Now you'll be able to see locations that have already been discovered, outposts, any cities that belong to that planet, and all of them will automatically be shown on the map, ready for you to select as a landing spot if you want to land there. If not, you can just go wherever you want. Place a marker where you want to land and you'll be able to land there. In this same view, you'll also be able to see the resources on the planet. Now, that initial scan that we talked about will tell you what resources actually belong on the planet, but the second view will actually show you exactly where they can be found. This will help you decide where you want to build an outpost if you wish to do so, but we'll talk a bit more about that in a second, because it's worth talking about the core gameplay loop. It really comes down to exploration, discovering planets, collecting data, and then selling that data for credits, where you can go all the way back through, but more efficiently. When first starting out, you're not going to have the best equipment, very similar to what we said about your spaceship. It will certainly help you get from some points within the world, but not every single point. So what you'll need to end up doing is go into these planets that you do have at the beginning, explore them, scan what's available, and then sell that data on for credits where you can then buy better equipment to travel to another planet to do the same thing again. There is a few other things that will link into the core gameplay loop, such as being able to set up outposts, which we did briefly mention. This will allow you to fully customize a place of your own, collect resources, and those resources can then be sold for credits. And we also can't forget that on these planets, you'll also be able to find outposts, dynamic events, side quests, pretty much you name it, all the stuff that you would expect from a Bethesda game. And this will gift you loot, gear, and even credits in themselves. Now, it's worth highlighting that every single planet within the game is procedurally generated. However, not everything is procedurally generated. What I mean by this is that planets themselves will have their own rule set. It will list out exactly what type of animals will spawn there, what type of plants will spawn there, its environment, its biomes, everything that you would expect to be part of a planet. But when it's built, it's not going to be the same as what everyone else has. So for example, once Starfield releases, if I was to go to a planet and you were to go to the exact same planet, we will see it slightly differently. However, there are some things which are handcrafted. Any type of main structures, dynamic events, story missions, or even just story elements for that matter, are all handcrafted. But it does mean with the procedurally generated system that they might just be in a different place. And that's why with the maps that we were talking about earlier, where you'd be able to scan a planet before actually landing there, you'll be able to see the resources. And the resource layout that you have will be entirely different to the resource layout that everyone else has. So by scanning a planet before landing, and instead of just following guides, you will be able to get the best possible plays for whatever it is that you're looking for. And that's where you can start building outposts. Now, building an outpost is exactly what it sounds like. You can build your living quarters and then start to expand upon it by adding other elements. Through the gameplay that has already been revealed so far, we know that you can build a variety of different structures, all of them giving you a benefit in some way. Now, for a lot of these, there are limitations on how many that you can build within just one single outpost, mainly because Bethesda don't want you to completely farm a planet to absolutely nothing. But even with these limitations in place, you're still able to build something quite grand. There's a lot on offer, and there's nothing stopping you building a second outpost nearby. In fact, you can really build however many outposts you want. It's not recommended to build something on every single planet, but Bethesda have said that you can near enough do every single one. There are some that you can't, and that's expected. But out of the 1,000 planets on offer, most of them you will be able to build something. And with these outposts, you're then able to leave them to do their thing. You can even assign companions as well as crewmates to an outpost, which depending on their skills may help this run a bit more efficiently, allowing you to gain more resources, which you're then able to sell for more credits and ultimately get more credits at the end of the day. That's if you are trying to sell resources. With some of these outposts, you can also set up research facilities, which will then also give you more credits as you're able to sell more data. Now, with everything that we've gone through, it seems like a walk in a park. A lot of it comes down to exploration and scanning your surroundings, but you need to remember that you're not the only one doing this, and other people have their own intentions. Combat is going to be heavy. You're going to walk in on other people's territory, and they're going to want to have your head for it. Likewise, when you're out in space and you've managed to collect loads of resources and you're able to go and sell that on, there's going to be other people that see that. They want to sell those resources, they want those credits, so they're going to attack you. And this is just on a surface level. As you progress through the story, there may even be other people with similar intentions to you, which is unlocking the mysteries of the universe. And maybe you stumble across something way before they do, and they're just not happy with it. If you couldn't tell by now, there's a lot of moving parts with Starfield, and it does sound like you will be able to play however you want to play within game. Myself personally, I think I'm probably going to be someone that definitely sets up quite a few outposts and let those farm as many resources as possible, whilst also being out in space and just taking down as many enemies as I want. Pretty much dominating solar systems. But let me know what you're going to be doing within the game once it does finally release. Leave all your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, then I highly recommend clicking the next video on screen. That video will go through the full character customization process, breaking down absolutely everything that you can do. And surprise, there's a lot. So click that video and I hope you enjoy.